Amazing. So we chant this Mangalacharna. These are the first uh, 21 verses of the Adidila. And it works a little bit like a zip file where there's a lot of content summarized in a few verses. So this, especially the first 14 verses, are then expanded upon in the whole first 7 chapters of Adilila. And with this Mangalacharna, we invoke auspiciousness for our Sangha tonight and for all our endeavors, and we offer our respects to the Panchatattva, including Lord Nityananda. There's 5 verses on Nityananda Tattva. So I'll just play a recording for my phone and we can chant along. I'll just ask everyone to mute their microphones. Mangalacharna, we create auspiciousness, we offer respectful obeisances. Vande Guru Nishabhata Isha Nisha Taprakasham Krishna Chaitanya Samyakam Vande Shri Krishna Chaitanya Nityanando Sahorito Gurudai Pushpavanto Chitroshando Tamonudao Yadadvaitam Brahmo Panishari Tadapyasya Tanuba Yadmantaryami Rusha Iti Sosham Sabhava Shad Aishvaryai Punoya Iha Bhagavan Saswayamayam the Chaitanyat Krishna Jagati Padatatvam Padamiha Anarpita Charim Chirat Karuna Yavatirna Kalau Samarpayitum Munato Jvalarasam Sapakti Shriyam Hari Purata Sundara Duti Kadam Basandipita Sada Hridaya Kandare Spuratu Vasachinandana Radha Krishna Pranaya Vikritir Ladini Shakti Rasman Ekatmana Bhapi Puvi Pura Deha Vedam Gatau Tau Chaitanyakyam Prakatamarunatha Tvayam Chaikyam Aptam Radha Bhava Duti Suvalitam Naumi Krishna Sarupam Shri Radhaya Pranaya Mahima Kidrisho Vanayaiva Sadyo Yena Puta Madhurima Kidrisho Vamadiya Saukyam Chasyamad Anubhavata Kidrisham Beti Lopat Tat Bhavatyam Samajani Shakshi Garbha Sindhu Harindu Sankarshana Karanato Vashayi Garbhodashayi Chapayo Dishayi Jeshashchayasyam Shakalasa Nitya Nandakya Rama Sharanam Mamastu Mayatite Vyapi Vaikunta Loke Purnaishvaryeshi Chaturbhyuha Madhye Rupam Yasyodbhati Sankarshanabhyam Tam Shri Nityananda Ramam Prapadye Maya Bharata Janda Sangashrayanga Shete Sakshat Karanam Bodhi Madhye Yasyai Kamsha Shri Puman Adi Devas Tam Shri Nityananda Ramam Prapadye Yasyam Shamsha Shila Karbodashaye Yanapyapjam Lokasanghatanalam Lokashrastu Sutika Damadatus Tam Shri Nityananda Ramam Prapadye Yasyam Shamsha Paratma Kilanam Osha Vishnu Bhati Tuktabdi Shayi Shauni Bharta Yatkala Sopyanantas Tam Shri Nityananda Ramam Prapadye Mahavishnu Jagatkarta Maya Yasrajat Yada Tasyavatara Devayam Advaita Charya Ishvara Advaitam Harina Dvaitad Acharyam Bhakti Shamshanad Bhaktavatara Nisham Tam Advaita Charya Ashraye Panchatattvatmakam Krishnam Bhaktarupa Sarupakam Bhaktavataram Bhaktakyam Namami Bhakta Shaktikam Jayatam Suratal Pangur Mama Manda Matergati Vatsarvaswapadam Bojao Radha Madana Mohanao Divya Vrindaranya Kalpadramata Srimad Ratnakara Singhasanastao Srimad Radha Shila Govinda Deval Prashtalipi Sevya Manusmarani Sriman Rasarasarambi Vamshi Bhaktatatasnitaha Karshandenu Swaner Gopir Gopinatha Shri Sunaha Jai Jai Shri Chaitanya Jai Nityananda Jai Dvaita Chandra Jai Gaur Bhaktavinda 18 Thakur Gaudiya Ke Kariya Chinad Masad 18 Era Charanandam Tine Morna Grantera Rarambe Kari Mangala Charana Guru Vaishna Bhagavan Tine Rasane Hoy Igna Vinashana Anayasi Hoy Nicha Vanchita Purana Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare
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 Rama, Hare
Rama, Rama
Rama,
Rama,
Rama Rama,
Hare
Hare
Hare. Chaitanya Mahaprabhu Ke Jai.
Jai.
Again, thank you everyone, and thank you for chanting along this beautiful Mangala Charna. I'll stop sharing my screen. So again, I'd like to welcome our super special guest, His Grace Brigupati Prabhu, who is a real legend of Sankirtan. Thank you for making the time to be with us today, Prabhu. And I'll just pass it on to Ranjan Nimai Prabhu, who's gonna just give a little introduction about Brigupati Prabhu before we start the presentation, the talk.
Thank you so much, Matthew Prabhu, for giving the opportunity to introduce Prabhu. Uh, I'll just so it's my great honor and privilege to introduce His Grace Bragupati Prabhu to our community. Prabhu is a distinguished and highly respected senior disciple of His Divine Grace, A.Shri Bhaktivedanta Swami Srila Prabhupada. Prabhu is a shining example of unvarying dedication to book distribution, which Srila Prabhupada emphasized as the heart of Krishna conscious movement. For over 4 decades, Prabhu has tirelessly engaged in the spreading transcendental knowledge, distributing near 2 millions of Srila Prabhupada books and collecting over $500,000 in the service of Krishna. So Prabhu's exceptional effort have earned him recognized as a top book distributor in North America multiple times. And in 2005, Prabhu was awarded the Global Excellence Award in Mayapur during the Grand Gaur Purnima festival. So beyond his legacy, legendary contribution to book distribution, Bhragupati Prabhu is a profound scholar and teacher of Srimad Bhagavatam and Bhagavad Gita, delivering enlightening classes that inspire and transform the heart of devotees worldwide. His realizations are deeply rooted in practical experience, unwavering faith in Srila Prabhupada, instruction, and a lifetime of sincere devotional service. So currently, Prabhu serves as a Sankirtan leader in his ISKCON Los Angeles, one of the most vibrant center of Krishna consciousness in the world. So let us express our deepest gratitude and appreciation for His Grace Raghupati Prabhu, praying that we may imbibe even a fraction of his determination, humility, and enthusiasm in our spiritual lives. So, thank you so much, Prabhu, for taking out your time and giving your association. Over to you, Prabhuji.
Rigupati Prabhu, we can't hear you. You just need to unmute yourself.
Is that,
Yes,
can you hear me now?
yes, Prabhu. Yes, Prabhu.
Okay, good. All right. Okay, well, thank you very much for that introduction. I think it was a little bit more, a lot more than I deserved, but anyway, thank you. So, I'd like to start by saying something about, well, I was asked to speak, to say something about, give reasons why one should read the Chaitanya Charitamrita and also distribute it. And so I thought I'd start by saying something about the author of the Chaitanya Charitamrita, Krishnadas Kaviraj Goswami. So he was a devotee, and he was, I think he was living in someplace in Bengal. I'm not sure about that, actually, where he was living to start off with, but I know he had a brother, and his brother was also a bit of a devotee, but he had faith in Lord Chaitanya, but he didn't have the same kind of faith in Lord Nityananda, which is interesting because I think over where you guys are, it's Nityananda Triodasi. We had it yesterday. Um, so that's kind of ironic. So he didn't have faith in Lord Nityananda. He was, what happened one day, I don't know if he was the Pujari or if he was at an artik when somebody else was the Pujari, but a great devotee of Lord Chaitanya appeared on the scene, Miniketan Ramdas. And the Pujari, which I said may have been his brother, may have been somebody else, I can't remember. He didn't, stop the artik. He didn't show any. He didn't acknowledge in any way Miniketan Ramdas's appearance. And Miniketan Ramdas became angry, and I think he broke his flute or something like that, and he stormed off. Anyway, apparently Krishnadas Kaviraj Goswami's brother made some kind of an offense to the devotee. By not respecting him, he was also disrespecting Lord Nityananda. So Krishnadas Kaviraj Goswami was kind of like not happy about that. Anyway, in a dream he had that night, Lord Nityananda appeared to him in a dream, and it was kind of more than Krishnadas Kaviraj Goswami could understand. It was just a dream. It was sort of like a vision, and in that dream, Lord Nityananda instructed him to go to Vrindavan, and there he would acquire all desirable things. So when he got up in the morning, I didn't hesitate at all. He just got up and, okay, that's it. That's my instruction. And he did it. He went to Vrindavan. So he was residing in Vrindavan. Okay, so that's there. Now, next thing, Raghunath Das Goswami was, as we know, also he has connection with Lord Nityananda. Raghunath Das Goswami was the son of a very wealthy landowner or landlord, fabulously wealthy, incredibly wealthy. But he was a devotee. They got him married. He had a beautiful wife, but he was always wanting to get the association of Lord Chaitanya. Especially, he once got the association of Lord Nityananda. I can't remember who arranged that to him. Maybe it was Haridas Thakur. I can't remember. But when he met Lord Nityananda instructed him. He said, take shelter of advanced devotees, avoid the association of non-devotees, constantly chant the holy name of Krishna, and one other thing, which I can't remember. But then he went home, and eventually he was able to sneak away. His parents were did all sorts of things to try to keep him there, at home with his wife, but to no avail. He just waited for the right time, and he went to where Lord Chaitanya was, and he went to Jagannath Puri actually, and that was the fourth instruction of Lord Nityananda to Raghunath Das Goswami, that he should go and serve Lord Chaitanya. So he did that. He was able to sneak away, and he got to Jagannath Puri, and Lord Chaitanya put him under the care of Swarup Damodar. And he was there for, it's in quite a few years. I can't remember the number now, whether it was 12 or 19 or something, but he was there as part of that group, Lord Chaitanya, Swarup Damodar, and Raghunath Das Goswami was kind of, he was the servant of Swarup Damodar, who was serving Lord Chaitanya. And so he was privy to a lot of, confidential stuff, and just general, anything with Lord Chaitanya is confidential in the sense that it's, completely pure transcendental Leela pastime. So he was there for all that. Now, Lord Chaitanya and Swarup Damodar, they departed from this world one after the other. Lord Chaitanya first, Swarup Damodar shortly after that. And there was Raghunath Das Goswami in Jagannath Puri, and he decided to go to Vrindavan and his plan was to jump off Govardhan Hill and commit suicide like that, because he was just feeling too much separation. He was just experiencing too much separation, and he just couldn't continue. He felt like he couldn't continue to live, feeling, with that type of intense feeling of separation. So when he got to Vrindavan, he met Rupa and Sanatana Goswami, and fortunately, they talked him out of it. They talked him out of doing that. They basically, one of the things they explained to him was, you had so much association with Lord Chaitanya and Swarup Damodar, and you were there for everything. So please, you can't do that. You can't, we got to share all that with us. And he agreed. So it might have been at Radhakunda, I can't remember where, but he started giving discourses where he was speaking for like at least 2 hours every day, maybe longer, about the pastimes of Lord Chaitanya. And Krishnadas Kaviraj Goswami just happened to be one of the people who was present there when Raghunath Das Goswami was conducting these discourses, and that was going on. So then some more time passed. Raghunath Das Goswami eventually left, eventually departed, and a group of devotees approached Krishnadas Kaviraj Goswami, and they asked him to write a book. They asked him, to record the latter pastimes of Lord Chaitanya, which he had heard about from Raghunath Das Goswami, who kept his own notes, and also had the notebooks of, I believe, Swarup Damodar, Kadachas, they were called, notebooks. Anyway, so, or at least his talks were based upon that. Now, there were already several biographies of Lord Chaitanya existent. Murari Gupta had done one, Lochan Das Thakur, and of course, Vrindavan Das Thakur, Chaitanya Bhagavat. One was called Chaitanya Mangal. I can't remember. The other one might have been called Chaitanya Mangal. I can't remember. But anyway, so they wanted to hear about the later. But those existing biographies were mostly focusing on the earlier pastimes of Lord Chaitanya, and so the devotees requested Krishnadas Kaviraj Goswami to write about the later pastimes of Lord Chaitanya, and he agreed because he's being requested by the devotees. But the thing was this: he was very old. He was in his 90s, and if you read, when you read the Chaitanya Charitamrita, you see in the I think it's the first chapter of the Madhya Lila. It's either called it might be called the latter pastimes of Chaitanya Mahaprabhu or Lord Chaitanya's ecstatic manifestations. I can't remember. But towards the end of that chapter, he says, hey, I'm in my 90s. I'm shaking. I can't see very well. I can't hear very well. He might have mentioned a couple other things too. He's having a lot of problems with his body. There's a lot of, material impediments for him, but, he was saying, I don't know how I'm going to be able to do this. I don't. The reason I'm writing all these latter pastimes right now, and giving you a summary of the latter pastimes of Lord Chaitanya, because I'm not even sure I'm going to be able to finish this book. But I'm going to give you, a summary now. So in case I don't live long enough to finish the book, at least you got this. So, it was amazing. It was a miracle that he was able to produce that book. And he himself said that actually, I'm not even writing this. I'm just taking dictation from Madan Gopal. That was his. I think that was more than just his humility. He really felt like he was just being an instrument of Madan Gopal, who was, kind of dictating to him what to write. So it's a very special literature. As you can see, we can understand from all these different things. It's divinely inspired. The author was divinely inspired, to go to Vrindavan. Krishnadas Kaviraj Goswami by Lord Nityananda himself. He claims that his writing is a dictation from Madan Gopal. He did it at an age when it was kind of physically impossible for somebody to focus and in that condition especially focus and produce such an amazingly beautiful literature. And his name Kaviraj means the king of poetry. Kavi is poetry and Raj is king. So Krishnadas Kaviraj. It's an honorific title that he received from the devotees because his, literary, what's the word, expertise. So, so it's an amazing literature, just, from that, just based upon those things in and of itself. Now, in addition to that, it was actually Bhakti Siddhanta Maharaj's Prabhupada's spiritual master favorite book. Prabhupada said that in his later years, that was the only book he read, Bhakti Siddhanta Saraswati Maharaj. He used to read the Chaitanya Charitamrita, and he predicted that in the future, people would actually learn Bengali just so they could read it in the original language. Because, when you read a book in its original language, if you're capable of doing that, it has the most taste. Actually, just ironically, what's his name? Oppenheimer, Robert Oppenheimer, the famous physicist, he actually learned Sanskrit so he could read the Bhagavad Gita in the original language to just, to support that point. So, so that was what Bhaktisiddhanta Maharaj predicted, and he himself used to read it regularly like that. Prabhupada of course, gave us the Chaitanya Charitamrita. And the little story, the anecdote connected with that is that somebody approached him and requested him, said, I think this is a good book. I think you could do a good job. You're the right person to do it. Now, it's not like Prabhupada didn't have other choices. It's not like, okay, he did Bhagavad Gita and Srimad Bhagavatam. Well, the only literature left is Chaitanya Charitamrita. No, there's all the literatures from the Goswamis, so many books by Rupa Goswami, so many books by Sanatana Goswami, like that. There's so many different Vaishnava literatures that Prabhupada could have given preference to, but he chose the Chaitanya Charitamrita. That's also, I think, significant there, that, in preference, just not, in preference to so many other Vaishnava literatures that he could have translated and given us, he chose to give us the Chaitanya Charitamrita. So it's a very special literature. And by reading it, when you read the Chaitanya Charitamrita, you're associating with everybody. You're associating with Lord Chaitanya. You're associating with, the predecessor. You're associating with Krishnadas Kaviraj Goswami, who obviously put his heart and soul into, giving it to us. You're associating with Srila Prabhupada, who put everything. He said his purports were his emotional ecstasies. So you're getting the combined association of these different personalities. When you read the Chaitanya Charitamrita. So that's a reason, and it's an opportunity to enter into those pastimes. It's like you become part of Chaitanya Lila. And there's an interesting statement in the Madhya Lila. Prabhupada says all the associates of Lord Chaitanya were Nityasiddha. And then he goes on to say, this is, I'm paraphrasing a little bit, but that it's not just that those devotees then were Nityasiddha. Anybody who fully embraces the mission of Lord Chaitanya and, practices the sadhana bhakti and engages in, trying to push on the Sankirtan movement is also Nityasiddha. So it's not like it's an exclusive club that's, we missed out on the opportunity to become part of. No. Any one of us, anybody who now, even, to this day, makes a decision, makes a choice that, okay, let me get into this. Let me chant Hare Krishna. Let me follow the regulated principles. Let me read Srila Prabhupada's books. Let me try to distribute Prabhupada's books. That's your ticket. That's your invitation. This is a club, invitation only. There's certain, like social functions and things like that. It's invitation only. Well, this is the invitation. The invitation is you just have to take up the process. You take up the chanting, the rules and regulations, and trying to contribute, help to push on the Sankirtan movement. And then you're given access. You're given access. You're allowed to enter into the pastimes which are still going on to this day. And Prabhupada also makes a statement, something to that effect in the Chaitanya Charitamrita, of Lord Chaitanya, right? So, I mean, what more can you ask for than that? And so it's an amazing opportunity. It's an amazing opportunity. And just reading these books is service. Distributing the books is service. Purchasing the books is service. And service is what gives us the adhikari, the qualification to enter into the pastimes. There's that verse, Takshri Krishna Namani Nabhavet Gurai Mindade Seva Mukhe Hijivido Swameva Spirate. That Krishna can't be understood by the blunt material senses. He's understood by Seva Mukhi, service, beginning with the mouth, the tongue, like that specifically says in that verse. But the idea is that it's service is what pleases the spiritual master, the predecessor acharyas, and then ultimately Krishna. And then things are revealed to you. But that's how it works. It's not about material expertise. Yeah, we want to become expert at whatever we're doing. That's a means to an end. The whole idea is to please the spiritual master, please the predecessor acharyas with our service attitude. Becoming an expert in your service, whether it's becoming a pujari or a cook or a book distributor, that's a way of expressing your service attitude. You see, it's significant and important in that sense. It's not an ultimate determining factor. It's not like somebody can be a great preacher because they have great material expertise. No, that's not what's doing it. what's empowering that person is their service attitude, not their material expertise. You see, so by reading Chaitanya Charitamrita, by distributing it, by buying it, it's like an expression of our service attitude, and it's the service attitude which is going to make us eligible to be, be allowed access to enter into the pastimes of Lord Chaitanya's Sankirtan movement. There's that verse in the 10th chapter of the Bhagavad Gita. To those who are constantly devoted and worship me with love, I give them the intelligence by which they can come to me. Out of compassion for them, I, who am dwelling within their heart, destroy with the shining lamp of knowledge the darkness born of ignorance. So that's how it works. If somebody's constantly devoted, paraphrasing that, constantly devoted means you're committing. You've made a decision. You're sold out to following the instructions of the spiritual master. You're fully taking it to heart, and that's your life and soul. That's your life and soul, following the instructions of the spiritual master, and you're sticking with it. That's being constantly devoted and worshiping Krishna with love. That's practically speaking, that's what that means. Accepting the instructions of the spiritual master, making them your life and soul, dedicating your life towards executing the instructions of your spiritual master. That's constantly being devoted and worshiping Krishna with love. And the result of that is, Krishna says, I'm in your heart. I destroy with the shining lamp of knowledge the darkness born of ignorance. And Krishna reveals to you, he allows you to enter into, he allows you to wake up from this dream. Where this is a dream. We're in a dream. Just like when you go to sleep at night and you wake up and you realize, that was just a dream. In the same way, when we get the mercy of the spiritual master and we get the mercy of the parampara of the succession, we're going to wake up from this. This is a dream. Material life is just a dream, and it's not ultimate reality. Everybody's walking around thinking, no, this is it. No, and like there's a book called Lives of the Vaishnav Saints. It describes when Srinivasacharya, Narottam Das Thakur, Shyamananda Goswami, in their meditations, they were actually entering in to the pastimes of Radha and Krishna. That's reality. That's reality. It's as I said, it's a really great analogy that Prabhupada gave. That analogy appears more than once, but I just recently read it in the Srimad Bhagavatam, 3rd Canto, Chapter 28, Text 39, I believe it was, in the purport. Prabhupada gave that analogy again, that just like you wake up from a dream and you realize, that had nothing to do with that. I had nothing to do with that dream. One day, by the mercy of the spiritual master, we're going to wake up from this dream of material, bodily concept of life and realize I had nothing to do with this. So when you look at yourself in the mirror, just understand that that body that you're looking at, that's not you. That's the body that you've been put in. And the world around us, that's not your home. That's the place where the body that you've been put in is living in at the moment. It's anyway. So that's getting back to the point. That's why we should be try to get into the Chaitanya Charitamrita, because the Chaitanya Charitamrita, as well as other of Prabhupada's books, to be honest with them, the Bhagavatam, everything that Prabhupada's given us, this is our ticket. This is part of the program of getting out of this bodily concept of life and waking up and realizing our Siddha Deha, our Swarup Siddhi, our eternal relationship with Krishna, actually experiencing, our rasa with Krishna in the spiritual world. This is a means to that end. It's kind of like an end in itself as well, but it's just like Prabhupada was asked about what's the goal of this chanting. Prabhupada said, more chanting. Yeah. In other words, it's the means and the end. Participating, getting absorbed in these pastimes, the whole process of devotional service. It's a means to, and it's also an end in itself. Okay, just a couple suggestions here. Sometimes some of us are not like big readers. I mean, I used to, when I first joined, I was a very avid reader, and I also used to be into memorizing all the verses. As I got older, I stopped memorizing the verses, and then eventually I stopped systematically reading. Now I read because I give class, and I always read, to prepare for the classes and everything. But I find it much more easy to listen, and I like listening to Prabhupada lectures. So one thing I do that helps me get into reading more is, like, for instance, say I wanted to inspire myself or get myself to, to read the Chaitanya Charitamrita more. I'm doing this right now, as a matter of fact. I just started there's a website called Vanipedia. Hopefully everybody is already familiar with it. It's fabulous. It's got everything. It's got everything, all Prabhupada's things that he wrote, everything that was recorded, everything that was videoed. It's got everything right on one website. So I've gone to I started at 1960. You could easily find it. You just go Vanipedia, and then you scroll down a little bit, and they'll give you a choice to go to Vani Source, Vani something, and Vani Media. You hit Vani Media, and that'll take you to another page, and then you scroll down a bit, and you go audio, and then you scroll down a bit, and it gives you like a thing, access to different pages, starting each year is a different page, and you can listen to all the lectures, all the conversations, everything. It's right there in chronological order. So I started in 1966, and I'm systematically listening to all the lectures that Prabhupada gave on the Chaitanya Charitamrita, and it's really great. You get right into it. It just makes it really easy, or easier for me anyway, to get absorbed in the pastimes, and then I get inspired by that, and then I go and I want to know more about it, so I go fish out that particular volume, whether it's Adi Lila, Madhya Lila. I don't think Papa gave any classes on the Ansha Lila. I just fish out that particular book that was, that the pastime that Papa was lecturing on, and I read more, and it works. It's working. I particularly like. There's one lecture, not a lecture, Papa, the conversation Papa had with Hayagriva in 1967, right at the end of 1967. Hayagriva wanted to do a play about Lord Chaitanya. So he asked Papa to kind of, have a conversation with him and give him an outline for the play. And it's about almost a little less than 2 hours long, and it's absolute nectar. I just listened to it yesterday. If you haven't never heard that, I highly recommend listening to it first opportunity you get. It's 1967. It's right at the end. It might be December 31st even. I'm not sure. December 30th or 31st, 1967. It's an outline for a play. It's a conversation between Hayagriva and Prabhupada in San Francisco. And it's great. You'll love it. It's like, wow. That's something you could do that get you inspired, to read the Chaitanya Charitamrita more. Another thing that's very helpful is if you have like a regulated principle by which you have a group of devotees and you read it every like once a week or something like that. I belong to this group called Isanga, and what it is, it's a group of devotees. It's about probably maybe 12, 16 devotees in the group, and half of some Prabhupada disciples. Some of them been devotees like myself, 50 years plus. And once every 2 weeks, I give the class. I give a class on Chaitanya Charitamrita. So I have to study for that, which means I have to, it forces me to read the Chaitanya Charitamrita. I know I got to give the class. I got to try to say something intelligent. So I go and I, read the verse that I have to speak on, and I read, all the verses leading up to that. And I spend a couple of few hours reading and trying to familiarizing myself with the pastime and everything Prabhupada said about it up till this point, and what Prabhupada's going to say about it afterwards, and you get absorbed in it. So it's really good, because that's the whole idea of a regulative principle. Prabhupada didn't just say, "Well, chant Hare Krishna, however you feel like it." No, he said, "Chant Hare Krishna 16 rounds." Why? Because Prabhupada knew that we didn't have a taste. You see, so if he just would have left it up to us, well, chant as you feel inspired, and someday we might be chanting, 16 rounds or 25 rounds or 64 rounds, and the next day nothing, and the next day, whatever. You see, that he gave us a regulative principle, because when you don't have a taste, this is how it works. You got to do something according to the regulative principle. Rupa Goswami explains in the Nectar of Instruction how it works. He said, we're like somebody with jaundice. Somebody with jaundice, sugar cane, tastes very bitter. Rock sugar candy will taste bitter to that person because they're in a disease condition. But the cure for that disease is they have to take that sweet thing, regularly, and it cures the disease, and then it starts tasting sweet again. You see, so it's the same thing for us. Initially, well, maybe for me anyway, and hopefully some of you are in a better spiritual position than myself. But we don't have a taste, so we have to have that regulative principle. Which, by executing, by following the regulative principle, we're going to be gradually cured of the disease of diseased consciousness. And when we as we get restored to normal, spiritual health, then these pastimes will become sweeter and sweeter and sweeter, and we won't have to, have we'll be spontaneously attracted. Nobody will have to tell us, read the Chaitanya Charitamrita. We'll want to read the Chaitanya Charitamrita. We'll want to chant Hare Krishna like that. We'll want to go out and preach Krishna consciousness and distribute Prabhupada's books. But in the meantime, it's good to have a regulative principle. Until you reach that platform of spontaneous attraction, then you have to have a regulative principle to, just like until you get to the point where your liver or whatever it is, I think it's the liver, is healthy again, or pancreas or whatever, then you got to be, you got to take the sugar candy as a regulative principle. And then when it starts tasting sweet, then okay, then you're on your own. So it's like that. I was also asked to say something about maybe like an experience I've had distributing Chaitanya Charitamrita. So one experience in particular comes to mind. I remember once it was one day I had a desire to really distribute a lot of Prabhupada's books. I was living in Sydney, Australia at the time. So I decided, okay, I'm going to really try to, give this my best shot. So I went to bed early, got up early, had all my rounds chanted, read, didn't overeat, got out to my spot, and I started distributing. Got out there early. There's a train station, Central train station in Sydney. And I was there for about like 45 minutes and I got kicked out. Police came and said, you can't distribute here. So I went outside the train station. I was trying to distribute out there, got kicked out. Then I went to the bus station, which was right next to the train station, was distributing there, got kicked out. Then I just thought, you know what? I'm just going to hop on the bus and I'll take the bus to the last, whatever bus comes first. I'll hop on the bus and I'll take it to the last stop, because in my mind, I was thinking these buses usually wind up at some big shopping center. So I'll just, whatever shopping center I wind up at, I'll just distribute there. And, what can I do? So got on the bus, and the last stop was just in the middle of this neighborhood. I guess I had it wrong. It wasn't a major shopping center. It was just in the middle of some neighborhood. And that was it. I had to get out. It was the last stop. So I got out and I thought, well, what do I do now? Anyway, there was like a couple shops. It wasn't a shopping center, but there were a couple like neighborhood shops. There was what they call in Australia, they call little stores. They call milk bars. I don't even know what we call them. They probably don't exist here in America anymore. But just like a little mama and papa shop where they just sell a little bit of this, a little bit of that. Newspapers, magazines, fruits and vegetables, cigarettes, etc. So there's a store like that. Then there's a liquor shop next to it. Maybe there's one other store, I can't remember. So I thought, okay, what the heck? I'll just do outside here. And there's a few people coming and going. Anyway, so I stopped this one girl, and she took a teachings of Lord Chaitanya and gave whatever, like $11 or $14 or something like that. I could see she was kind of, simple, nice, interested. So we used to have these cards in the back of the book that you'd fill out. And if it was like a way we get contact information from people. If they filled it out, we keep the card. We send them a free Back to Godhead or a free Higher Taste cookbook or whatever. But we had their information. So I did that. I had to fill out the card and I kept it. And that was that. And then some time passed. I was on this program called Contract Sales. If I don't want to mess around with it now, but I actually have what they call the broadsheet that we made. Like we're going back now 40 years. Right in front of me here, I have the broadsheet that we produced, for that program of selling sets of books. It's like a big chart. We used to roll it out on the table or on the floor or something like that and show people the set of books. It was kind of an overkill. You really didn't have to do that. But anyway, so I was on that program, and they were trying to expand the program, and the person who was in charge of the program said, okay, we had like a seminar. And he said, at the end, he said, okay, now you fellas who've been in the program, I want you to take out one of these new guys who've just come for the seminar and show them how to sell a set of books. Well, it wasn't that easy. And, selling a set of books, you have to have a qualified lead. Anyway, I just thought, I had the card. So I rang up that girl and I said, hey, I got some exciting new thing I want to tell you about. Is it okay? I'm going to be in that neighborhood sometime on the weekend. Can I pop in and show you what I got? She said, yeah, sure. So I said to the devotee I was supposed to train up, I said, okay, look, I got, I have an appointment. At least you get to see a presentation. So we went out there, and I put the broadsheet out on the floor, spread it out, had a picture of the, Bhagavatams and the Chaitanya Charitamritas. And I did my spiel, I told her about the books, whatever I said, I can't remember. And then at the end, I just said, well, I'm sure a set of books like this is something that you'd really like to have. How would you, and I shook my head, yes, like that. And I said, how would you like to take care of it? Do you want to use a check or a card or cash? She said, oh, I could do a check. It was like a close, and I just did that close, and she went, I could do a check. I said, oh, okay. She went into the bedroom. She got out a checkbook. She wrote a check for $800, and boom, that was it. She took the entire set, Bhagavatam and Chaitanya Charitamrita. And, I was amazed. The devotee who came with me was really amazed, and I was amazed because I really didn't expect that. But so the point is that I don't think there's a couple of points. One is Krishna was reciprocating with my efforts, my effort on that day and my effort on the previous, 2 months ago when I actually, went through all that whole rigmarole to that day to try to have a good day on Sankirtan. I wound up just maybe doing a few books and meeting that one lady. But it's kind of like the bhakti, the effort was there on that day. And then this is like, I refer to the story as delayed action mercy. I feel like I got mercy for that day's effort 2 months later when I went to do this presentation. So that was there. Plus, I wasn't particularly good at that. I didn't have the material expertise, but the effort was there. The intense desire to do it was there. And also another point is that it's not a lot of these. Vaisheshika has, who I'm sure you know who he is. He has this idea of ripe fruit. There's certain people that are ripe. Not everybody is in the same spot. There's people who are ripe and will take the books if they just have the opportunity, if it's just presented to them. See, so we got to remember that don't be hung up. Oh, I'm not a very expert speaker, or I'm shy. I don't have any sales ability. I can't present the philosophy. It's nice if you can. It's nice if you're not shy. It's nice if you're a good salesman. It's nice if you can have a silver tongue and you can, present the philosophy very nicely. But even if you can't, even if you're shy, even if you feel like you're the furthest thing from a salesman, and you really can't, you don't feel confident about the way it doesn't matter. Just go out there and present it. Lord Chaitanya said, Yare deke tare kaha Krishna upadesh, amana agaya guru hana tare desh. Wherever you go, whoever you meet, tell them about Krishna. Why? Well, it's going to be good for the person who does that, but there's ripe fruit out there. You don't have to, when you come across ripe fruit, you don't have to do much. The ripe fruit, they're ready for it. They'll take it, whether you're a good salesman or not, whether you know the philosophy or not, whether you're shy or not, whether you're nervous or totally confident. When you bump into that ripe fruit, which you will if you just go out there, they'll take it. They'll take it. It's a really nice analogy. Actually, I had experience with that. Before I was a devotee, I lived on a kibbutz in Israel, and I was picking grapefruits. And that was one of the things they taught us. So when I heard this analogy, it really made perfect sense to me, because they taught us that when you go up in the tree, first of all, don't touch anything that's on the ground. That's rotten fruit. As soon as it's on the ground, they don't bother to sell it. They just whatever, they'll let it decompose, or anybody can have it that wants it, and that's standard among orchardists all over the world. I lived in New Zealand, the same thing. We had fruit orchards all around New Varshan, where I live. And they had a standard, policy, understanding with the orchardists that we could just come on their property. Anything that was on the ground, they were happy that you could just take it. Once it hits the ground, they don't touch it. So that's rotten fruit. They consider that rotten fruit. So there's certain people out there that are just kind of, they're over the hill already. As far as, by Lord Chaitanya's mercy, anybody could take the Krishna consciousness. But there's a lot of people, the people who just, as soon as they see you, they go, no way, leave them. Don't waste your time and energy trying to deal with them. Just let them go. And the people you want are the people who, anyway, getting back to the analogy of the fruit. When you got up there in the tree, and there's certain fruit that you just have to put your hand on it and just give it a teeny little tug, and off it came. If you put your hand on it and you gave it a tug and it didn't, or you tug, leave it. It's not ripe yet. Just wait another few days or a week, and it's going to be ripe, and it's just going to come right off. It's the same thing with book distribution. Same thing with, selling the sets of Chaitanya Charitamrita or any of Prabhupada's books for that matter. You got to get out there, be out there with enthusiasm. This is the real qualifications. Get up, go to Mangalarti, chant your rounds, be following the regulative principles, read Prabhupada's books, only eat prasadam. Get out there, be enthusiastic, be prepared to work, 4, 5, 6, 7 hours or whatever, just chalk out your line of duty. I'm going to, I'm starting at this time, I'm finishing at this time. From that time to this time, I'm going to work hard, I'm going to try hard. Krishna will reciprocate with your sincerity and your effort, and he will make the arrangement for you to come in contact with ripe fruit. Despite the fact that you're nervous, despite the fact that you feel like you don't know any sales lines, despite the fact that you're very new and you don't even know if you properly understand the philosophy, it doesn't make a difference. Just the fact that you're going out there and you're trying, Krishna's going to reciprocate. He'll put you in touch with some ripe fruit, and the books will go out. You will definitely sell sets of Chaitanya Charitamrita, Srimad Bhagavatams, or whatever you get out there, whatever you got. Krishna's the doer. That's what that expression means. Krishna's the doer, not us. It's not dependent upon our material ability of any kind. It's dependent upon it's a reciprocation between the devotee and the super soul, and which is connected with everything else. So that's the real thing. So let me see if I had any more points here.
Hare Krishna.
Hare Krishna. Good. I'm in the process of giving a class to a bunch of devotees in London. For those of you who are listening, I'm on the roof of a parking lot at Cal Poly Pomona, which is like a polytechnical college here in Los Angeles, and a student just approached me. You know about Krishna, huh?
Yes.
Where are you from?
From India.
Which part?
Ahmedabad.
Ahmedabad. So Ahmedabad is Gujarat, right? Yeah. Oh, actually, I have a friend. He built a temple on Satellite Road.
I used to go there when I was little.
Really? Yeah, he's no longer with us. Yasomati Nandana was his name.
Do you know when you're going to have your setup here?
Well, as soon as I finish this class, my booth is down there. I'm outside the library, in between the library and the art gallery. Okay. You'll see me. I'll be there in about 15, 20 minutes. I'll see you there. No, Hare Krishna. Yeah, sorry. Is everybody there?
Yes, Prabhu.
Are you there?
Yeah.
Oh, okay. Who's this?
Bhaktamatya. We can't.
Okay, good.
The visual is frozen, but we can still hear you.
Okay, good. Yeah. So what was the last thing you heard? What was the last thing you heard me say?
You were saying about wait, I have my notes. That if you go out with enthusiasm.
Right. Okay. Did you catch that thing that happened as I was speaking? The student approached
me.
Yeah.
Yeah.
He's from Gujarat. He's from Ahmedabad, and he was, seems like he's a bit of a devotee. He's asking me when are you going to have your booth set up. I'm here at like one of the universities here in Los Angeles. When I finish this, I'll just go to my table and start distributing. But that was kind of far out.
What kind of distribution? Like, where do you distribute these days? It seems like you do universities. You do anywhere else?
Yeah, see, we have in America here, we have First Amendment of the Constitution, free speech and religion. So if I can I can set up a table at any of the public schools, not the private ones, but anything. And there's a lot of public, so I just come to a college or a university, plunk down my table, put the books on it, and just start, canvassing. I don't wait for the students to come to me. I kind of go to them. They're walking by. They won't come to you anyway. I mean, if you sit there long enough, yeah, you'll get a few students coming up to you, but pretty much you got to canvass. So I approach them. I have, my lines, so to speak. I start off with a compliment, and well, if you want to hear, I can go over that with you as well. But I have my routine, my sales pitch, and then I just gonna get the books out.
That would be good actually to hear, because often devotees in the call, they ask, how to approach people, what to say.
Okay, sure, I'll do it for you. So, all right, so you just got to visualize. I have a table. That I highly recommend tables because it makes you, especially if you have it set up in a place where outside a big store or something like that, or it gives you some credibility. What to speak if you're in the middle of a college campus? They think you have something to do with the university. They think you're official. You're part of the whole thing. Okay, So I got my table set up and I got the books on the table. And then as the students are walking by, I'll just, I start off with usually I start off with a compliment. Some schools you don't even have, but anyway, it's best to start off with a compliment. So usually I have a shaved head, I'm wearing a hat, and I see the student, and I'll say something like I look at the student, I go, wow, that is what I call a hairstyle. That's just an example. I use that a lot, but the principle is you got to give them a compliment. That's the one I use. That is what I call a hairstyle. Then I pull off my hat and I show them my shaved head and I say, man, I wish I could do that. I make like a joke about myself. And it always gets a smile and a laugh, a slight laugh. It breaks the ice. It works. I'd say it works about like 65, 70% of the time. I mean, it kind of breaks them down. So then you got your foot in the door. Then I say, so what's your major? And they say, psychology. I say, for real? And they go, yeah. I say, well, come on over. You qualified. At this point, I'm maybe 5 or 10 feet away from the table. Whatever their major is, it's perfect. That's the like, and you might have noticed the way I say, when they tell me the major, I say, for real? Like I can't believe it's almost too good to be true. Like that mood, Say, come on over, you qualified. Yeah, you more than qualified. I bring them over to the table. When they come over to the table, I hand them a first canto Bhagavatam, hardcover, that's and with a softcover Bhagavad Gita on top of that, and a Science of Self-Realization on top of that, paperback. And that one, I always have that as the top book because they like that picture for some reason. I don't know what it is, but if you give people a choice of, I'll give you one as a gift, 70-80% of the time they pick the Science of Self-Realization. I don't know. It looks like, something cool about it, Krishna in the atom or something. I don't know what it is, so I have that one as the top book. So I hand them those 3 books and I say, let me show you the picture. I said, this is like psychology, or this is, if they say biology, I say, this is inner biology or inner psychology, something. So I try to relate it to whatever their major is. And I show them the changing bodies picture. And I say, here, this picture is showing how, as we get older, our bodies change. But look, see, it's showing how the psyche or consciousness continues. That's it. I really don't say much about the book. At least different people are different. But what I always find is that if I try to preach to people or even try to teach them something, it just goes down like a lead balloon. I really try to avoid that. I avoid preaching to people unless they really reveal that there's somebody super interested and they want that, But until I actually kind of get that kind of a signal from the person, I don't preach, I don't teach, and I don't argue because you never win an argument. I'll get to that. But so I just say that much, and I say that much because Prabhupada said he wanted us to try to distribute the books on the merit of the book. And my understanding is that the merit of the book is the philosophy. So I've given him some philosophy. I've handed him the books. I showed him the changing bodies. That's the first thing anyway. We're not the body. I just show him how consciousness continues after the body. And then I say to them, so what's your name? And they tell me then, Bob. I say, Bob, I said, I got to tell you, man, you look more like a rock star than a psychology major or something like that. Just give them another compliment. And they like that. It's kind of humorous and complimentary at the same time. And it usually, once again, gets a smile and, they might say something, oh, you look like a rock star too, something, whatever, but it definitely works. Then I just for the donation. I say, so anyway, we print these books ourselves and people just help with a donation. You're welcome to keep them. Could you pitch in a donation to help out? And then I just, see what they do. And I respond accordingly. Some people go, well, how much? And if they say how much, I'll do something like this. I'll say, well, how much would you like to get? Watch what I did. I say, how much would you, actually, is your card credit or debit? See, I start to answer their question, and then I intentionally interrupt myself and ask another question because you don't really want to talk about how much at that point with them. I'll start to answer their question. I'll say, well, how much would you like? And actually, is your card credit or debit? And then they answer the second question. It's the only one I really fully asked. And they say, well, it's credit. And then if I'm there with another devotee, I look at the other devotee and I say, hey, Bob doesn't have any cash. Is it okay? Can you use a credit card out here? And the partner goes, yeah, sure, that's okay. Kind of like, it works. And then I say, yeah, I just need your card. And then on the phone, because we have all our iPhones there or whatever, I have an app called Square. I guess you have that over there as well. But it takes credit cards, So then I just have the dial pad there, and I, depending upon the person, what you kind of feel how interested they are, how not. But usually, if somebody immediately just right off the bat asks you how much, then they're very receptive. And by that time, they're holding 4 books in their hand because I'm showing them. I handed them 3, and I show them the picture from A Journey to Self-Discovery. Then I hand them that one. So they got 4 books in their hand, and then you just show them like, well, a lot of students give like this, a 50 or 100, whatever you like. Really, you just put some number in there, and they might just go sure, Or if they go, oh, 50, 100, whatever, they'll go. Then you just go, oh, well, no, it's okay. That's it. Some students give that, but could you just do half that? Then you basically just negotiate. And I always try to do it. So I try to get the best donation I can from them. But at the same time, I try to do it. I want them to be happy. I want them to walk away happy. I want them to walk away feeling that hey, this is pretty far out. That guy was a nice guy, and he gave me these books. And man, I got them for a good deal because I got them for less than what I would have to pay for them in a bookstore, which almost always is what happens because, books in the bookstore for students are crazy expensive. And, the 4 books I'm handing him, if he had to buy them in a bookstore, he would pay $100. So, that happens once a day, if that, or maybe, 2, 3 times a week. Generally, people give less. You get like maybe a half a dozen 50s, or maybe, I don't know, maybe more in a week. Or you get a lot of people giving 10 and 20. It's okay. Whatever they're happy to give, it's okay. It's not about the money. Really, it's about engaging them as fully as we can in devotional service. And getting a donation is part of it. Prabhupada didn't want the books given away for free. Prabhupada said, what is this giveaway nonsense, on one occasion. He wanted devotees to get a different, a donation for the books, but he didn't want devotees to become, what's it called, scalpers, or, just kind of like people taking advantage of other people and trying to, get them for as much money as they possibly can. That's not the proper mood or the proper way to, do Sankirtan. Engage them fully, try to get a nice donation. And then when I get a nice donation, I'll give them as many books as they are willing to take. I'm not trying to maximize the profit. I'm trying to maximize the number of books I can get out. So say they do give me $75 or something like that. If I've given them 4 books, then I give them a Krishna book. I'll say, hey, by any chance, do you remember the Beatles? And they'll say something. I say, yeah, George Harrison wrote the introduction to this book. You should check it out. I'll give them that one. I'll give them like one of everything I have on the table. I'll even I'll say, do you want a travel copy? Do you want one for a friend? I'll give them as many books because they don't take advantage. I mean, that's my experience. It's not like somebody's just going to take all the books on your table. They don't try to do that. They'll take whatever they take, and whatever they're comfortable to take, I'm happy to give them. And it all works out. It all works out. Sometimes people will give you a good donation. They don't even want a book, and then sometimes people will take 5 or 6 books and maybe only give me a small donation. It's okay. It all averages out. At the end of the day, I get enough money for to cover the cost of Printing Plus, so that works out like that. If you have Christians come up, be careful about Christians. Sometimes people will come up and they go, I really don't want your book, but I'd like to talk to you. And what do you think of Jesus Christ? Don't do it. Don't do it. What'll happen is, and this is 52 years of experience, or they might do it a different way. They might start asking you some questions about the philosophy. They'll ask you 2 or 3 questions, pretending that they're actually interested. And then they'll go, well, I'd like to tell you something about what I believe, and you kind of feel like a little obligated because, they've been politely listening to you. So you feel like you at least should politely listen to them, but it's a waste of time. It's a waste of time. If there's always an exception to the rule, but generally Christians will waste your time. And sometimes if you try to argue, even if you defeat them, even if there was like another person there was like a judge, a referee, and was listening to the debate, so to speak, and that person, as far as that person was concerned, you defeated all their arguments, still that the person you're talking to won't accept that you've defeated any of their arguments. So you don't win. They won't acknowledge defeat. They won't take the book. They won't give a donation. So you just wasted the time, and you feel really drained a lot of times afterwards. It'll affect your distribution. Can it adversely affect your distribution from that point onwards? So don't do it. Okay, so that's just a caution there. What else is important when you're distributing? Well, the big thing is just, as I said, we're an ambassador of goodwill. Try to remember that. You're out there trying to be an ambassador of goodwill. It's good to have a free book. It's good to have something that you can give people for free. It could be like an enchanting pamphlet. I don't know if you have those over there, but I'm pretty sure you do. It's just a little pamphlet. It's maybe like a dozen pages long, and they're very inexpensive. But yeah, it has that address Prabhupada gave where he explains about the Hare Krishna mantra. Actually, there's who was it? The biggest book distributor in the world now is a devotee named Mahotsa. He's with in Atlanta, a project called Krishna Life. That was his book. That's how he started. Somebody gave him an on chanting. That was his first, connection, contact with Krishna consciousness. Somebody gave him an on chanting. He read it and he started chanting Hare Krishna. You see, so we can't underestimate the power, the value of even a small book. So it's a good idea to go out there with something you can give people for free. And the way I use it is that, when I do my pitch to people, and if they're not willing to give a donation, I don't try to talk them into it. I don't twist any arms. As I said, I just go for the ripe fruit. If it's just like what I gave that example I gave when I was picking grapefruits on the kibbutz in Israel. You just put your hand on it and you give it a little tug. If it comes off, great. If it doesn't, leave it. It means it's not ready. And so I do the same thing with people. I do my sales pitch, which I know works because it works on so many other people. And if they say, yeah, okay, I'll give a donation, great. I'll take, and I negotiate and I get the best donation I can. But if they're not willing to give a donation, I don't work them over. Let them go. I say, hey, it was great meeting you. I really thank you so much. It was really a pleasure meeting you. Here, have this. I give them whatever free book I'm going to give them. And then, I want to the next person. So I'm spending like a minute or two, pretty much, a minute or two with each person. And even if a person is really sincere and they want to know more, I'll talk to them a little bit more, especially if it's quiet, on the campus at that point. I'll spend a bit more time with them, but I'll simultaneously try to engage them more. I'm not going to take that as a place to give them a whole Bhagavatam class or anything like that. If they're really, really interested, I'll give them my phone number. I'll go to the back of the book and I show them the address of our temple and tell them to come to the temple. I'll give them my phone number. I'll give them my email. I don't generally get theirs simply because I know me. I know where I'm at. I know I'm not going to follow up. We don't have a separate department that follows up on the leads. It's kind of like my philosophy is the ball's on their court. I came out there that day. I gave them the book. I talked to them, and the ball's in their court. They got the book. They gave a donation. Now it's up to them to read it and take the next step. And that's not ideal. I'm not presenting that as ideal, but that's where I'm at. That's what I do. If you're younger and you got more energy and you know that you're gonna do something with it, get their contact information. Give it to somebody at the temple who sends out a mass mail out, an email blast or something like that, or follow up on them yourself. I know I'm not going to do that, and our temple is not like set up. We're not doing that. So I just give them my information and if they, hope and pray to Krishna that they'll get inspired by what they read and they'll follow up on it themselves. You with me?
Yeah, that was very exhaustive, very complete.
Comprehensive,
yeah.
Yeah.
Thank you very much, Prabhu.
Anything else? Questions, or what do you usually take questions, or what do you want to do?
Yeah, question. If anyone has questions, you can either unmute yourself or put it in the chat. Someone raise their hands. Yeah, you can unmute Prabhu. Shantakumar Prabhu.
Hare Krishna Prabhu.
Haribol.
Haribol, getting chance to hear from you is a great blessing, Prabhu. Krishna's mercy, that too today, Nityananda Triyodasi. Actually, I was having a question. You answered partly for that question related to Christian, Prabhu. My question is, have you ever encountered a situation? Of course, you had actually, but the question is, when you go for a book distribution, like someone asked to get a Bible and they talk about that and stating this is the only thing help us for liberation, but they are not saying like a just argument purpose. They are saying from their heart how similarly like us, how we are, trying to explain the same way they are explaining to us. If we have you ever come across this kind of situation, or if we come across this kind of situation, how can we handle it? If they are saying like argument purpose, that's different. We don't have to listen them, we can ignore them. But if they are saying from their heart, because they have the faith, they are believing that is right. So how can we deal with that type of situation?
Okay, so no, they're not trying to break up your sales or anything like that. They're coming up to the table and they're just very sincerely telling you, like, I believe in the Bible. This for me is, I follow this, and I have faith that this is going to connect me with Jesus and connect me with God and take me back to, that kind of person, right? A very sincere person.
Yes, that kind of person.
Okay,
Yes.
so then I'll show them in the Bhagavad Gita, chapter 11, the last purport. There's a few sentences where it says, let's see if I can remember now. It says here, there are many examples in the history of the world of devotees of the Lord who risk their lives for the spreading of God consciousness. The favorite example of Lord Jesus Christ. He was crucified by the non-devotees, but it would be superficial to understand that he was killed. So I actually, open up a Bhagavad Gita and I turn to that. It's right at the end of the last purport in the 11th chapter. I read him that. And I say, look, we accept Jesus. It says Lord Jesus Christ. He was crucified by the non-devotees. He sacrificed his life for the spreading of God consciousness. I say, look, we're followers of Jesus Christ. I tell him, I'll look him straight. Actually, Prabhupada said, we're the real Christians. He said that in Denver in 1975 or 6. He said, we're the real Christians, and I believe that, we're the real Christians. We're actually following Jesus Christ. Anyway, I tell them, we have no problem. We're followers of Jesus Christ. I said, we just don't kill animals. We're not seeing the animals killed unless it's absolutely necessary. If it's a question of life or death, yeah, sure. Then, okay. Then, it's a matter of survival. You can eat an animal. Prabhupada said that human life is more important than animal life. But in times of abundance, when there's, so many other choices, so many other alternatives, why not just live and let live? Animals are also part of God's creation. Why not just be, a little bit kind and compassionate to them as well? And a lot of times that's also that does the trick sometimes. In Science of Self-Realization, there's a section that goes to Jesus Christ was such a great devotee, Son of God, representative of God. He had no fault. We appreciate his. They could not appreciate his preaching, but we appreciate his preaching and we honor him as something. It's in that chapter, Christ, Christians, and Krishna. And I just opened to that and I read that to him. So once I was in Melbourne and a group of Christian ministers asked me, what is your idea of Jesus Christ? And Papa says, I tell him, he is our guru. He is our spiritual master. He's preaching God consciousness. And the ministers very much appreciated that. So I try to show them stuff that can make them feel that, oh, these guys aren't against us. They're I tell them, I'm a Christian. Well, I stopped saying that. So we're followers of, I don't want to be too, you know, uh, sketchy. I say we are followers of Jesus Christ. And sometimes if it's quiet at the table and I feel like I want to get into, I might say to the person, hey, look, let me ask you a question, okay? If Jesus Christ were to show up on this campus right now, if he just somehow or another he just showed up here on the campus right now, and he came up to the
Hare Krishna.
Looks like we lost Prabhu's voice.
Yes. Just as he was saying, if Jesus was to come up. Okay. Let's give it a few seconds, see if signal comes back. I'll try a message as well.
I think we lost Prabhu. Yeah, now.
Give me just 1 second. I'll try to I got my phone. I'll be right back. It looks like it's not back, huh?
Yes, Prabhu. Looks like still Prabhu's Chandya.
Well, I sent a message, but I didn't receive it. So possibly it doesn't have any more connection. Uh, So, what do you think, Ranjani, my Prabhu? Shall we just end? Oh, it's back.
Yeah, I think we can. Yes. Prabhu, you are on mute. Yeah.
We can't hear you.
How about that? Can you hear me now?
We can hear you now, Prabhu.
Okay, I don't know what the last thing you heard. What happened was my phone got too hot. I'm up on the roof of this parking lot,
Okay,
and
sure.
I guess it just turned off. But what was the last thing?
Yes, you were saying if you do have time, maybe the campus is quiet and there's a Christian you want to get into it, then you ask them, what if Jesus
Yeah,
showed?
okay,
And then
showed up today.
yeah.
Yeah, I kind of run that scenario by him, and I get him to admit that no, Jesus Christ wouldn't be okay with that. So once they admit that, I just go, hey, well, I mean, the whole idea of being a Christian is just trying to live your life in a way that's pleasing to Jesus Christ. So if you know Jesus Christ wouldn't have been happy about something, why would you be doing it? He said, well, I'm not killing the animals. I said, well, you're an accomplice to the crime. If you're eating meat, then you're supporting the slaughterhouses, even if you're not the person who in the slaughterhouse killing the animals. By not, by buying the products, you're supporting it. You're making it possible for them to do it, and they kind of get it. But as I said, with Christians, I won't give them. I won't start. It's not like I'm prepared to stop. They're just another sales prospect. If they respond to my attempts to kind of engage them, great. And if not, on to the next person. I don't show them any special preference. Oh, this person wants to be spiritual and religious, so I have to drop my sales persona, and just now start preaching to them. Nope, nope. I'm out there to engage people. I don't drop the sales persona to try to get into a theological discussion with the Christians. Don't do it.
When you say sales persona, could you expand on that?
Yeah. Okay. Well, book distribution is a sales activity. Just like when you go in the kitchen, that's a cooking activity. When you go on the altar, that's a dressing activity. When you're managing a temple, that's a managing activity. It's devotional service, but you can't deny the fact that when you go into the kitchen, you got to know something about cooking. It's not enough to be a nice devotee. Yeah, you can go into, say you chanted really good rounds, and you got up for Mangal Arti, and you're reading Prabhupada's books, and then you're thinking, okay, well, I'll just go in the kitchen and I'll just make something. I don't know anything about cooking, but I'll make something, and it'll be good. No, it won't. You got to learn something about cooking. That's part of the service. I mean, the ultimate determining factor is, that you become a really good cook, is that you got to be a sincere devotee, but you also have to learn something about cooking. So same thing with book distribution. There's a sales aspect to it, and that's why I went over all these things with you. It's kind of like, ultimately, yeah, sincerity is the main thing, but it's important to, just like if you want to be a cook as your service, and it's important. You got to learn some recipes, you got to learn some techniques, you got to, this is an art to it. There's a science to it, how to do it. Just like with dressing the deities, if you got to know what you're doing. So it's the same thing. It helps with a lot, as with a book, book distribution. If you go to the trouble of learning from somebody who's already knows how to do it, learn the ropes. Learn how to do it. Otherwise, what will happen is you just go out there. If you're not willing to learn, it's just like with going into the kitchen. If you're not willing to learn recipes, well, you're just gonna preps aren't going to turn out good. Devotees aren't going to like them. You're going to feel discouraged and frustrated. You're going to give it up. So it's the same thing with book distribution. You have to learn certain things. It's helpful, very helpful to learn. And the best way to learn it is just like being an apprentice to somebody who's already doing it successfully. You help that person, you assist them, and they'll show you, they'll teach you how to do it. And then and don't be lazy, don't be stubborn. Learn it, and you'll be able to go on. Just like a perfect example. Say if I'm doing a parking lot, and I try to walk up to people and say, "You don't work here, right? You're just shopping." Like more than nine out of 10 people will just just totally ignore me and just walk on. You need something more powerful than that. But say so I do a compliment and that works. But if say a book distributor is stubborn, he goes out, he doesn't. Well, I don't want to surrender. I don't want to. I'll do it my way. Yeah, I've had so many devotees come out with me on Sankirtan and who wanted to do it their way, and they do it their way for like a day or a week or a month, and then because they get discouraged and they'll stop and they'll give up the service. So better to be a little bit. You got to be willing to learn. Just like on anything, just like in the material world. If you want to be a carpenter, I had a friend who went to Cornell University. It's kind of a famous university here in America, and he studied construction management, and part of it was like carpentry. And he said, I went to visit him, maybe 10 years ago. He was living in Hawaii, and he told me everything he learned on the job. Because he worked as an apprentice to carpenters, guys who already knew the tricks of the trade, so to speak, and he helped them and he assisted them and they taught him. And that's how you learn. You assist, you got it. Just like it says in the Bhagavad Gita, just try to learn the truth by approaching the spiritual master, inquire submissively, and render service to him. The self-realized soul can impart knowledge into you because he has seen the truth. So it's true. It's like that. That holds true for any service. If you want to become good at book distribution, go out with somebody who's good at book distribution and serve that person and help that person and inquire from that person and then do what he tells you, and then you'll be successful. It'll work. That's how it works in the material world, and it doubly works like that in Krishna consciousness, because Krishna likes it when you're humble and you kind of take shelter of a devotee who's more expert at something than what you are. Krishna appreciates that attitude, and therefore he kind of the spiritual factor kicks in there as well, as opposed to that's just the material way to learn things. And there's as I said, there's an additional spiritual factor that kicks in when you do it in relation to devotional service.
That makes complete sense. Can I ask one more question? Because I know it's kind of getting late. Can I ask one more question?
Yeah, yes.
Follow
Ask
up.
as many questions you like. Yeah, go ahead.
So would you say what's the most powerful way to stop someone? Is it giving a compliment? Would you say
Yeah,
that's the top way?
compliment. Well, what do you think? I mean, you're a book distributor. Have you found something more powerful than a compliment? That's what works best for me.
Yeah, we use compliments as well. And it can be anything, their shoes, their dress, their
Right.
smile.
Yeah, that's a detail. You just but the principle is compliment. And actually, that's coming in Parampara, because there was one a predecessor Acharya. He was the uncle of Gopal Bhatta Goswami. His name was Bodhananda Saraswati, and Prabhupada would quote him sometime, and he would kind of paraphrase what he said: "Flatter them like anything." That was basically Prabhupada's paraphrase of Bodhananda Saraswati's instruction: "Flatter them like anything." You might have heard that there's a verse Dante, and I can't remember the Sanskrit, but it goes, "Oh, you're so wealthy, you're so good looking, you're so intelligent. Now just forget everything you know and listen to what I have to tell you about Lord Chaitanya," something like that. But the idea is flatter them like anything, and then when you do that, they're prepared to listen to you.
And how do we sound convincing? Because sometimes we might, especially if we're doing books all day, we might just kind of drop compliments and it sounds a bit fake. How do we really feel it when we give a compliment?
Well, I have, when I'm out there, I think this is the Brigu Party show. I just tell myself, I'm just prepared to kind of just become like an actor on the stage, and I just ham it up. It's practice. I mean, I don't know. I just do it. I know. I know what you're saying. You're right. You can't just say it deadpan. You got to really, you got to do with like body movement and facial expressions and changing your tone of voice and would do it. Just the whole thing. Go, just do this, ham it up. I don't know if you got that expression over there, but it means just, just it's a whole song. Give the whole song and a dance. Actually, you'll enjoy it more if you do it like that, because when you see it works, it's kind of like it's really it's kind of enjoyable. It feels like almost like a transcendental reciprocation. I mean, sometimes I'll say that line to people. I say, "Wow, that's what I call a hairstyle." And I take off my hair and a hat and I show them I got no hair. I wish I could do that. And they give me a big smile, and I say it just feels really good. I feel like I really connected with them. Actually, I had just at this very school I'm at now. Last week I had an experience. This school is it's a polytechnical, so it's kind of like a lot of engineering students and they're kind of. I've been here in the past, and these kids, I didn't have a really good experience. I felt a lot of kids were just they weren't prepared to relate to me. Same thing happens at UCLA. They're kind of a little bit arrogant, puffed up, and they won't even relate to you. And it's kind of, and I was thinking that I had it in my mind that these kids are really out of it. And maybe they are. But the thing, what I did last week is I made an extra effort to really kind of, give them, do the compliment and really get into it. And I cracked it. I feel like I got through to them, and they are nice kids. They just weren't prepared to. So as I was thinking that they're really out of it, they wouldn't relate to me, but it just was I wasn't getting on their wavelength. You gotta get on their wavelength somehow or another. You gotta break the ice. You gotta establish that rapport. I remember there's a devotee, Chaitanya Charan. He's a disciple of Chaitanya Charan, yeah, disciple of Radhanath Maharaj. He does a lot of science preaching. He once said to me something about, for the purpose of preaching, sometimes you got to connect with them as a human being before you can connect with them as a spirit soul. So that's why the compliments work. It's on the bodily platform. You're not complimenting them something spiritually. You're complimenting them on the way they're dressed, or they look intelligent, or whatever. It's bodily. But then you use that. Narada Muni says in the first canto of the Bhagavatam, "Oh, good soul, does not a thing applied therapeutically cure a disease which was caused by the very same thing?" So, in other words, it's kind of mundane in a sense. You're complimenting them something in relation to their body, gross or subtle, but it's a means to an end. It's I mean, we're just doing that to kind of establish a rapport, get our foot in the door, connect with them somehow, and then you kind of get into the rest of it. So anyway, getting back to answering your question, just get into it. If you feel yourself just becoming mechanical, just remind yourself, if I'm mechanical, it's not going to work. You got to go beyond being mechanical about it. You got to compliment it and do it enthusiastically and sincerely. And if it seems a little bit ingenuine to you, just remember why you're doing it. You're not doing it, we're not trying to manipulate them for our own sense gratification. Yeah, we are trying to manipulate them, but for their own spiritual benefit, not for our sense gratification, not for us.
That's very helpful, Prabhu. And yeah, I can experience that. I experienced that myself, that when you really try to get into it and then you even start to have fun, just
when you just surrender and really get into it, I experienced that too. It becomes a lot of fun. And if you're experiencing Sankirtan as a lot of fun, guess what? You're going to want to keep doing it. And that's the secret to how to keep doing Sankirtan year after year, et cetera, et cetera, et cetera. If you're having fun out there, and if you do it like this, you're going to have fun, and then you'll be able to keep doing it for a long time. And that's what we want. We want to be able to do Sankirtan for a long time.
Thank you so much, Prabhu, for your answers.
Yeah, well, thank you for inviting me to be on the part of the group here, and I hope I did a good job. So something to
amazing,
encourage everybody.
Very very inspiring, very practical as well. And thank you for making the time.
My pleasure.
And perhaps we would like to have you again in the future.
Sure, you just let me know.
More sessions.
Just contact me again, and I'm happy to do it.
Thank you so much, Prabhu.
Okay, Prabhu. Hare Krishna. Jai, everybody.
Hare
Thank
Krishna.
you. Hare Krishna.
Prabhupada Prabhu ki.
All of you, ki
Jai.
jai. Hare Bol, jai.
Thank you, Prabhupada.
Jai.
Hare Krishna.
Thank you. Hare Krishna.
Hare Krishna.
Krishna.
Shira Prabhupada ki jai.